Classic SpongeBob wouldn't get along with modern SpongeBob. Why? Because classic SpongeBob got annoyed over small things. He had boundaries. Modern SpongeBob is loud, overly affectionate, and never stops smiling. Put them in the same room, and it wouldn't take long before classic SpongeBob snaps.
All right, that's it. No more Mr. Nice Guy.
In this video, we'll be breaking down what if classic and modern SpongeBob met. Let's talk about Can You Spare a Dime, and why it perfectly shows who classic SpongeBob really was as a character. This episode demonstrates everything that made early SpongeBob feel real. His genuine kindness, his loyalty, and most importantly, his very human breaking point. When Squidward quits his job after being accused of stealing Mr. Krabs' dime, SpongeBob immediately follows him outside. He genuinely cares what happens to Squidward, even though Squidward has never been particularly nice to him. SpongeBob tries to convince Squidward to come back, but when that doesn't work, he doesn't push it. Instead, he tells Squidward that if he ever needs help, SpongeBob will be there. This shows emotional maturity. He offers support without trying to control Squidward's choices. Later, when SpongeBob finds Squidward homeless and living in a cardboard box, his response is immediate. You can come live with me. This is pure kindness from someone who sees a friend in trouble and instinctively wants to help. At first, SpongeBob happily takes care of Squidward. He makes breakfast in bed, gives massages, tends to every need. You can see that SpongeBob genuinely enjoys helping people. It's not a burden for him. This level of dedication is admirable, but it's also setting him up for problems. Months pass. Squidward is just lying in bed making demands and complaints. When Squidward rejects lemonade because the lemon has 3 seeds, I can't eat anything odd-numbered, SpongeBob's smile falters for just a moment. This is brilliant character writing. SpongeBob recognizes he's being taken advantage of, but because he's fundamentally kind, he tries to give Squidward the benefit of the doubt. Still, his frustration starts showing through passive-aggressive comments. SpongeBob tries dropping hints like alphabet soup spelling, get a job, newspaper job listings, even a puppet show about employment. When none of this works, something finally snaps inside him. He pushes Squidward's bed through the wall and drags him to the Krusty Krab. When Mr. Krabs won't rehire Squidward over the missing dime, SpongeBob grabs Mr. Krabs by the throat and calls him a crustaceous cheapskate. This explosion feels earned because we've watched SpongeBob's patience slowly erode. His anger is genuine human frustration from someone who gave everything and got nothing back. Classic SpongeBob had limits, and that's what made him feel real. Can You Spare a Dime shows SpongeBob's kindness and limits, while Breath of Fresh Squidward turns him into an annoying shouting mess. Real people have quiet moments. They have days where they're content but not bouncing off the walls. They understand that other people need space sometimes. Modern SpongeBob lost all of that complexity and became a one-note character whose only job is to be as loud and energetic as possible. He's exhausting to watch because he never stops. Modern SpongeBob is just loud and crazy all the time, but classic SpongeBob shows real feelings and acts like a real person. Say Breath of Fresh Squidward perfectly shows that classic SpongeBob would probably get annoyed at modern SpongeBob in a similar way. This episode reveals a SpongeBob who become a hyperactive cartoon machine that runs on pure noise and energy. Throughout this episode, SpongeBob is constantly yelling. Everything he says comes out at maximum volume with maximum excitement. When Squidward gets shocked by his electric fence and becomes friendly, you'd think SpongeBob would be happy and grateful. Instead, he becomes obsessive and territorial. Watch how SpongeBob reacts to having a nicer Squidward around. He completely loses his mind with excitement. He's bouncing off the walls, screaming about how great this is, acting like he's never experienced friendship before in his life. This isn't how real people react to good news. Real people might be pleased or surprised, but they don't turn into shrieking cartoon characters. Modern SpongeBob has no emotional regulation whatsoever. The worst part comes when Squidward starts being successful at work and hanging out with Patrick. Instead of being happy that his friend is doing well, SpongeBob becomes jealous and possessive. He literally screams at Squidward about how nobody can pogo dance with Patrick except him. Think about how ridiculous this is. SpongeBob is treating Patrick like his personal property and Squidward like an intruder. Now, this is obsession. Real friends don't get territorial when their other friends hang out together, but modern SpongeBob doesn't understand normal social boundaries. He only has one setting: extreme attachment. He can't just be happy that two people he cares about are getting along. Instead, he has a complete meltdown at Patrick's party. What's most telling about this episode is how SpongeBob handles every situation the same way. Real people people have quiet moments. They have days where they're content but not bouncing off the walls. They understand that other people need space sometimes. Modern SpongeBob lost all of that complexity and became a one-note character whose only job is to be as loud and energetic as possible. He's exhausting to watch because he never stops. Modern SpongeBob is just loud and crazy all the time, but classic SpongeBob shows real feelings and acts like a real person. This stark contrast in character means they probably wouldn't get along too well. Pizza delivery is one of the best examples of who classic SpongeBob really was as a character. This episode shows his loyalty, his determination, and most importantly, his very real emotional limits. He's a person with genuine feelings that can break. When Mr. Krabs decides the Krusty Krab should deliver pizza, SpongeBob is genuinely excited, but it's not the manic excitement of someone who's lost touch with reality. He's proud because this feels historic. The first Krusty Krab pizza ever. Throughout their journey in the desert, SpongeBob stays optimistic with his pioneer tricks and his famous pizza song. This shows his natural tendency to look on the bright side, but it feels real. He's trying to make the best of a bad situation, which is what real people do when they're stuck somewhere they don't want to be. The most telling moment comes when Squidward tries to eat the pizza. SpongeBob physically fights Squidward for it. He runs away, refuses to give up, and gets genuinely aggressive about protecting the pizza. This is someone who takes his responsibilities seriously and won't let anyone mess with something he cares about. SpongeBob believes this pizza delivery matters, so he's willing to fight for it. That kind of dedication feels human and relatable. But classic SpongeBob also has limits. When they're lost and hungry, and Squidward keeps dismissing his pioneer tricks, you can see SpongeBob getting frustrated. He's someone trying his best while dealing with a companion who's constantly negative. SpongeBob does all the work, stays positive, while Squidward just complains. Any real person would get annoyed by this, and SpongeBob does too. The ending shows classic SpongeBob's most human moment. When the customer rejects the pizza because there's no drink, which he never ordered, SpongeBob breaks down completely. He falls to the ground crying, absorbing his own tears. This is genuine heartbreak from someone who really believed in what he was doing. SpongeBob spent the entire episode talking about making history with this delivery. When it gets rejected for a stupid reason, his devastation feels real. Classic SpongeBob worked because he had the full range of human emotions. He could be optimistic and determined, but also frustrated and heartbroken. He could fight for what he believed in, but also cry when things went wrong. These emotions felt earned because they came from real situations with real stakes. He was a person trying his best in difficult circumstances with all the complexity that comes with being human. Classic SpongeBob shows a character with real feelings and human struggles. While modern SpongeBob has lost all depth and now only knows how to be loud and blindly cheerful no matter what happens. If you're enjoying this breakdown, don't forget to subscribe button. Now let's get back to it. The googly artiste perfectly shows how modern SpongeBob lost all sense of reality and became a relentlessly cheerful cartoon machine. This episode reveals a character who doesn't read situations, doesn't pick up on social cues, and just bounces through life with aggressive positivity no matter what's happening around him. Throughout this episode, SpongeBob is aggressively supportive of Patrick's terrible art, rocks with googly eyes glued on them. When an art critic shows up and starts throwing money around, SpongeBob doesn't question anything. He just bounces around being excited because that's his only setting. Any normal person would find this situation weird. A random critic appears out of nowhere, calls Patrick a genius for gluing eyes on rocks, and immediately hands over $500. That's suspicious. But modern SpongeBob doesn't think. He just cheers and celebrates like he's programmed to be positive about everything. The most telling part is how SpongeBob treats Squidward throughout the episode. Squidward is clearly frustrated that his actual art gets insulted while Patrick's garbage gets praised. But modern SpongeBob just keeps being relentlessly upbeat. He doesn't comfort Squidward or show any understanding of how this might feel. He's too busy being excited about Patrick's success to notice that someone else is hurting. This shows how modern SpongeBob lost the ability to read emotions or respond appropriately to social situations. He's like a cheerleader who never stops cheering, regardless of what's actually happening. Modern SpongeBob treats everyone the same. Too much, too loud, too fast. He hugs people too much, gets too excited about minor things, and acts like every moment is the best thing that's ever happened. This is exhausting. Real people need space and quiet moments. They don't want someone bouncing off the walls at them constantly. What's most frustrating about modern SpongeBob in this episode is how flat he feels emotionally. No matter what happens, SpongeBob reacts the same way. Big smile, bouncing around, zero awareness of who's hurting around him. Real people have complex reactions to complex situations. They might feel happy for a friend's success while also feeling bad for another friend who got hurt. They might be excited about something while also feeling confused or concerned about how it happened. Modern SpongeBob lost all of that complexity. He became a cartoon character who exists to make noise and move fast. He's like someone took the idea of optimism and removed all the humanity from it. Modern SpongeBob is a one-note cartoon who ignores real feelings and just yells happiness nonstop, while classic SpongeBob shows real emotions and struggles in genuine friendships. Crusty Love is a perfect example of how classic SpongeBob felt like a real person with genuine emotions and complex relationships. This episode shows SpongeBob experiencing jealousy, frustration, confusion, and genuine care for someone he loves, all while dealing with being caught in the middle of an impossible situation. From the very beginning, you can see that SpongeBob genuinely cares about Mr. Krabs as more than just a boss. When Mr. Krabs gets nervous about talking to Mrs. Puff, SpongeBob immediately jumps in to help. He introduces them, translates Mr. Krabs' gibberish, and genuinely wants his boss to be happy. This isn't SpongeBob being helpful because it's his job or because he's programmed to be nice. You can see in his expressions and actions that he actually cares about Mr. Krabs' feelings. When Mr. Krabs is too nervous to speak, SpongeBob feels bad for him and wants to fix the situation. That's real friendship, not just cartoon kindness. When Mr. Krabs asks SpongeBob to help control his spending on the second date, SpongeBob agrees without hesitation. Mr. Krabs gives him his wallet and tells him not to let him spend any money, no matter what. SpongeBob takes this responsibility seriously because he wants to help his friend. This shows another side of classic SpongeBob. He's reliable and trustworthy. When someone he cares about asks for help, he actually commits to helping them succeed. SpongeBob understands that Mr. Krabs is struggling with something and needs support. Here's where the episode gets really interesting from a character perspective. Mr. Krabs immediately starts asking SpongeBob to buy things for Mrs. Puff, flowers, chocolates, a hat, expensive gifts. Each time SpongeBob does what Mr. Krabs asks, Mr. Krabs yells at him for spending money. Watch SpongeBob's face during these scenes. You can see his confusion and frustration building. He's trying to do what Mr. Krabs asked him to do, but Mr. Krabs keeps giving him contradictory instructions. SpongeBob tries to explain this several times. "I'm trying, Mr. Krabs, but you keep telling me to buy things for Mrs. Puff." This is a realistic human emotion. Anyone would get frustrated being put in this position. SpongeBob is someone trying to help a friend who keeps changing the rules. The brilliant thing about this episode is how it builds SpongeBob's frustration slowly and realistically. First, he's confused, then he tries to explain the problem calmly. When that doesn't work, he gets more direct about pointing out the contradiction. Finally, SpongeBob reaches his breaking point. When Mr. Krabs asks him if Mrs. Puff will need a dryer to go with the washing machine, SpongeBob explodes in a stream of gibberish that's clearly meant to be swearing. Mrs. Puff has to look up the words in a dictionary and blushes at what she finds. This moment feels earned because we've watched SpongeBob's patience slowly wear away. His anger is genuine human frustration from someone who's been put in an impossible situation by someone they care about. What makes this episode so good for showing SpongeBob's character is that even when he's angry, you can tell he still cares about Mr. Krabs. He's mad because he's trying to help, and Mr. Krabs won't let him succeed. When Mr. Krabs starts crying and talking about being a lonely old crustacean who's found love, SpongeBob immediately softens. "Mr. Krabs, don't cry, Mr. Krabs. Come on." He can't stand to see Mr. Krabs upset, even though Mr. Krabs just put him through an incredibly frustrating experience. This episode works because it shows how real relationships function. People who care about each other can still frustrate each other. You can love someone and still get angry when they're being unreasonable. You can want to help someone while also feeling annoyed that they're making it impossible to help them. Classic SpongeBob had this kind of emotional complexity. He wasn't just a source of endless positivity. He was someone with real feelings who reacted realistically to the situations around him. When Mr. Krabs put him in an impossible position, SpongeBob got frustrated. When Mr. Krabs seemed genuinely upset, SpongeBob's anger melted away because he cared more about his friend's happiness than his own frustration. Crusty Love shows classic SpongeBob as a fully realized character with genuine emotional depth. He experiences jealousy, frustration, confusion, anger, and compassion, sometimes all in the same episode. These emotions feel real because they come from real situations and real relationships. SpongeBob's reaction to being caught between Mr. Krabs and his spending problem feels human because it is human. Anyone would get frustrated in that situation, and anyone who truly cared about their friend would keep trying to help despite that frustration. That's what made classic SpongeBob so special. He felt like a real person, not just a cartoon character. Classic SpongeBob was a real person with real feelings, but modern SpongeBob is just a loud cartoon that lost all heart. heart. SpongeBob You're Fired shows how modern SpongeBob lost what made him feel real and became loud and over the top instead. This episode reveals a SpongeBob who doesn't feel like a real person anymore. He's become a cartoon machine that runs on pure volume and exaggerated reactions, instead of genuine human emotion. From the very beginning of this episode, SpongeBob is operating at maximum energy for no reason. He's making Krabby Patties with insane enthusiasm, splitting himself into multiple mini SpongeBobs, flying around the restaurant like he's on a sugar rush. This isn't someone enjoying their job. This is someone who's been cranked up to 11 and left there. When Mr. Krabs tells him he's fired, SpongeBob's reaction is completely cartoonish. He literally floods the entire Krusty Krab with his tears. The restaurant fills up with water from his crying. Real people don't cry enough to flood buildings. Real people might tear up, feel shocked, or get angry when they lose a job they love. But modern SpongeBob only knows how to react in the most extreme way possible. What's most telling about this episode is how SpongeBob handles unemployment. Unshaven, disheveled, acting like a child who can't take care of himself. He sits around in pajamas, drinking coffee and feeling sorry for himself, but even his depression is exaggerated and cartoonish. He's not genuinely sad about losing something important to him. He's just performing sadness in the loudest way possible. When Patrick shows up to cheer him up, SpongeBob immediately goes along with the fun employment idea, bouncing between extreme sadness and forced cheerfulness. This shows how modern SpongeBob lost emotional stability. Real adults might feel down about losing a job, but they don't completely fall apart and need their friend to teach them how to live. SpongeBob acts like a toddler who needs constant guidance and entertainment. The whole middle section of the episode treats unemployment like a fun adventure. SpongeBob and Patrick go around bothering Squidward, taking naps, and eating weird food at Sandy's. Losing his job should be huge, but SpongeBob treats it like a weekend off. When SpongeBob decides to look for work, he immediately transforms back into his hyperactive self. His 5 o'clock shadow disappears, his clothes become neat, and he starts singing about being ready for a new job. This instant transformation shows how shallow his emotions really are. Real people don't switch between depression and excitement like flipping a light switch, but modern SpongeBob treats every emotion like a costume he can put on and take off whenever the plot needs it. The most frustrating part of this episode is watching SpongeBob make the exact same mistake at every restaurant. He turns hot dogs into weenie patties, pizza into pizza patties, burritos into burrito patties. Every single time, he acts surprised when he gets fired. Each time he gets fired, he reacts with the same over-the-top shock and sadness. He doesn't adapt, doesn't think, doesn't show any sign of intelligence or problem-solving skills. He just keeps doing the same thing and acting surprised by the same result. When the restaurant owners start fighting over him at the end, SpongeBob just goes along with it, screaming and getting tossed around like a rag doll. He has no agency, no control over his situation, no realistic reaction to being literally kidnapped and chained up. This episode perfectly captures what went wrong with modern SpongeBob's character. He became a source of constant noise and movement instead of genuine personality. His emotions are performed rather than felt. His reactions are designed to be as loud and extreme as possible rather than realistic or relatable. Modern SpongeBob doesn't feel like someone you could know or understand. He feels like a cartoon character, designed by committee to be as hyperactive and loud as possible. Every emotion is turned up to maximum volume, which means none of his emotions actually mean anything. Real people have quiet moments, complex feelings, and realistic reactions to difficult situations. Modern SpongeBob lost all of that and became pure cartoon chaos. He's exhausting to watch because he never stops, never thinks, and never shows genuine human emotion. Just louder and louder cartoon noises disguised as feelings. In the end, if these two versions of SpongeBob ever crossed paths, it wouldn't go well. Classic SpongeBob had limits. He cared deeply, but he also knew when enough was enough. Modern SpongeBob, he's all noise, no boundaries, and wouldn't give classic SpongeBob a moment of peace. Where one version valued real friendship and honest feelings, the other is trapped in constant empty excitement. Classic SpongeBob wouldn't just find him annoying, he'd see him as a hollow version of what he once was. And that's the real tragedy here. A character who once felt human has been reduced to nothing but loud energy. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.